Hello, so today we are going to take a look at Science Chapter 1, Stimuli and Responses. So I decided to explain based on textbook since the notes here is simple and comprehensive. So let's start out with the human nervous system. So the human nervous system is an important control system in body coordination. It also helps with sight, thinking, body movement, and controls and coordinates organ functions in the body and maintains a balanced internal environment. And here it states through a process. So the process that maintains a balanced internal environment will be homeostasis. Okay, let's look at the structure of the human nervous system. So the human nervous system can be readily divided into two parts, which will be the central nervous system and also the peripheral nervous system. The central nervous system consists of two main parts, which will be the brain and also the spinal cord. So as for the peripheral nervous system, it consists of all the other nerves that innervates the body, which will be the cranial nerves and also the spinal nerves. So that's pretty simple. Let's move on to the function of the human nervous system. So the main function is to it controls and coordinates organs and parts of the body. It also detects stimuli, sends information, interprets impulses, and produces appropriate responses. So in this case, you can see collecting garbage, sneezing, and serving the internet. So collecting garbage will be a voluntary response. Sneezing will be an involuntary response, while serving the internet will be a voluntary response. So voluntary and involuntary actions or response. What does that mean? So when your body receives a stimuli, it can be divided. It will carry out functions which can be divided into voluntary actions or involuntary actions. So in this case, reading a book will be a voluntary actions, while withdrawing hand from the hot object and peristalsis in esophagus will be involuntary actions. So what do I mean by voluntary actions? Voluntary actions are conscious actions and are conducted under one's own will. And it is very important to note it is controlled by the brain. So this includes everything that you do on a day by day basis where you want to get the thing done. For example, reading, writing, speaking, eating, drinking, walking, running, and exercising. So let's just take a look at the pathway of response for voluntary actions. So for example, in this case, there's a stimulus where the phone rings. So what happens is the stimulus is transferred to the ears, where the effective receptors in the human ear will be able to detect it and change it into nerve impulses, which will be sent to the brain. So in the brain, it will interpret the data and come out with the answer where there is a call that is coming in. So what happens is it sends out a nerve impulse to the effector muscles or gland. In this case will be the muscles of the arm, where it will give a response to pick up the phone and touch the screen or answer the call. So that is the simple pathway of voluntary actions. Now let's just take a look at involuntary actions. Involuntary actions are actions that occurs immediately without conscious control or prior thought. So this is something that you can't actually control, and it might even happen faster than you can think about it. So just now when we looked at voluntary actions, it was controlled by the brain, but in this it is controlled by the medulla oblongata or involving the spinal cord, also known as the reflex action. So involuntary actions that involve the medulla oblongata will be actions such as your heart beating, breathing, peristalsis, or secretion of saliva. As for The actions that involves the spinal cord will be such as withdrawing your hand when you accidentally touch a hot object. For the action that involves the medulla oblongata, it are actions that you have to carry out in your day-to-day life, but you are not completely aware of it. Like for example, your heart beating, you do not control your heart beating, it just happens since it's an involuntary action. As for the actions that involves the spinal cord, such as withdrawing your hand when you accidentally touch a hot object, this occurs when your body is in immediate danger and you need an immediate response. So for example, let's look at the pathway of impulse in this involuntary action. So for example, you touch a hot object. So the nerve impulse is formed by the heat receptor in your fingers and transferred to the spinal cord. So this nerve impulse will be detected as immediate danger for the body and converted into another nerve impulse which runs down your body into the muscle fibers of your arm, which withdraws your hand from the hot object. So this occurs very quickly, whereas if the nerve is going to travel to your brain, it's going to take a longer time and you'll have a slower response, and this can produce more damage to your body compared to if it just travels to the spinal cord. So here's a activity you can actually do to check the involuntary actions, where the size of the pupil, you can detect the changes in the size of pupil, the eye, according to the light intensity. So let's look at the importance of network of human nervous system in daily life, because the human nervous system is a very important system that controls and coordinates the organs and the body parts. So a damaged nervous system normally causes a person to become temporarily, partially or completely paralyzed. So for example, if a person has problem with the nerves in the muscles of the leg, or if he has a damaged nerve muscle of the leg, this will he will start to face difficulties in moving his leg, because there's no nerve impulse that travels to the leg to make the muscles contract or make it move. So in most serious problem, for example, a damage to the spinal cord, he might even have to depend on machines to carry out his physiological processes such as breathing or heart beating. So it's really important to take care of your nervous system.
Hi, don't forget to like, share and subscribe our channel. If you have any question, please comment down below. Thank you.